Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Black History Month. Are you interested in learning about prolific Black men, where they traveled or visited abroad? You have come to the right channel because that's what we're talking about today. This is a part 2 to my first video where I talked about prolific Black women and where they traveled abroad. Today, we're going to be talking about civil rights leaders, revolutionaries, authors, people that really made a mark on Black history in the United States. So welcome to my channel. Fly Like Me, PhD. I am Dr. Maya, and I encourage Black women to live or to move abroad or to travel abroad, all of the things. I have traveled to 45 countries and I have lived in 6 of those countries. So first, I have to let y'all know we are in such community. We are at 300 subscribers. It has only been 3 months that I've had this YouTube channel, and y'all are showing up and showing out. Like, I cannot express the magnitude of happiness I feel for how much you all have been liking my content. I love sharing my content with you. This is fantastic. So if you have not subscribed, please come on through and subscribe today to my channel. And we talk a lot about travels. You can really share your information about travels. We really have a community here. And if you have already subscribed, I see you. I thank you. I appreciate you. Why don't you go ahead and send my video to a Black person today for Black History Month who you know would be interested in my content. So, if you've been here before, you know that I change where I sit in my apartment. I have a lot of portraits of Black people, Afrocentric. It matters so much to me to really have those visible images. And so I change where I sit depending on what the video is about. So today we have this portrait. This is from Nigeria. I felt like it was absolutely captivating. The colors, the blue, the richness of the red, whatever they have in their hands. So shout out to the local Nigerian artist who made this, and that is what I'm sitting in front of. Also, y'all, I got my earrings back in again, my Africa earrings. So I just really want us to feel like we are inside of Black History Month and we are connected to our ancestors. So today I'm going to talk to you all about these prolific Black leaders, but I'll also mention some of the movies and some of the books that they have written, so that you not only get your information about them from me, but also you can see other people that have talked about them, or you can read about their autobiographies if they wrote them themselves. So as y'all know, I had to look at these notes. It's a lot to remember everything about these amazing men. So just give me some grace with that. We are starting off first with James Baldwin. He was born in New York, New York. He wrote essays, novels, plays, and books. James was a revolutionary who constantly spoke out about Black rights. He unfortunately died in 1987 at the age of 63, but he lives on in our hearts, and he has films and books. It's all out there if y'all want to still engage in his material. Baldwin was an expatriate. He lived in Paris, France. For some time, he would frequent this space very often. He visited and lived there between 1940s and 1950s. He wrote an essay that is called Equal in Paris, where it documents his experience abroad. France was like a second home for James Baldwin. In addition, he has an array of documentation, such as his passport, that are in the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. And his family gave these away as gifts to the museum. So you can look these up. You don't actually have to go to the museum, and you can see pictures of things such as his passport, for example. So James will also go on to spend some time in Turkey during 1970s. While he was in Turkey, he made the film James Baldwin from Another Place. He decided to travel to Turkey because he really wanted to have experiences outside of the US, and they online have actual pictures, videos, and clips of him in Turkey if you're interested. Finally, he has a book that is called The Fire Next Time. I read that book. It discusses the struggles in segregation and Black liberation. Our next leader is Langston Hughes. He was born James Mercer Langston Hughes in New York City, New York. He was an activist, a poet, a playwright, and an author. Hughes is really known for being a signature person in the Harlem Renaissance. And the Harlem Renaissance was really a time that reignited Black intellectuals. We were looking at the music and their writings, dance, fashion, and politics. And he was a major person that came out of the Harlem Renaissance. Hughes wrote about the hardships of Black Americans in the United States. And he also discussed the complexities with having a biracial identity. Hughes would go on to visit Central Asia in 1932. He was in Turkmenistan and he arrived there by train. And even though he couldn't speak the language, he would use body language in order to communicate with the people of the space. He wrote a book about the Soviet Central Asia, and it is called I Wonder as I Wander. You can get this book for free. In my other video that I will link to you in the description box, I talk about recommended books you should read while traveling, and one of them is this book. So if you want it for free, I gave you a PDF version of this book where Hughes is going to talk about his experiences abroad in Europe. Hughes also spent time in the Soviet Union, which is now known as Russia today. He was there from 1932 to 1933. And the reason he went there was to make a film that talked about racial relations and really dismantle negative depictions of Black Americans in film and address the ways they were being discriminated against. Langston Hughes unfortunately died at the age of 66 in 1967. Our next leader is Malcolm X. He was born Malcolm Little in Omaha, Nebraska, and he is the epitome of a revolutionary. When you think revolution, think him. He was a minister and an activist, and he made an indelible mark on Black culture during the fight for civil rights. As a young man, though, Malcolm Little was out here, okay? He committed some crimes, not was like accused of something falsely. He actively committed crimes, such as burglary with some of his friends or with some of his girlfriends. And so he did have to go to prison, and his sentencing was 8 to 10 years. While he was in prison is where we see the switch over, where Malcolm joined the Nation of Islam and changed his name to Malcolm X. A fun fact for you all that is in Malcolm's book is that the reason that he wore his signature glasses or hat glasses was because he got an astigmatism when he was in prison. There was a light that was in the hallway. They normally turned off the lights at a certain hour, obviously, but they still had a light on in the hallway. And so he was able to read off that light, but the light was so dim that it caused his eyes to go bad, and he was reading all of the time. He would later go on to marry Betty Shabazz, who is also known as Betty X, who is an educator and was a civil rights activist. So we have Malcolm X and we have Betty X. In 1964, Malcolm X took a trip to Ghana along with people such as Maya Angelou. I have mentioned Maya Angelou in my first video where I talk about prolific Black women. If you want to know more about her, she is who I was named after, and she has contributed poetry and writing as well. He spent time in Accra, Ghana, and during his last visit, he wanted to write to the United Nations to discuss the disenfranchisement of African Americans, as well as Malcolm X also wrote to Maya Angelou, and if you look it up, you can find one of their last letters together, and Maya also had stated that she wished Malcolm had never left Ghana and maybe he would still be alive today. So that brings us to his brutal murder. It was a public assassination execution where he died in 1965 at the age of 39. I want you all to know I went to Ghana as well, and my shirt is from Ghana. I saw this piece of clothing and it just spoke to me. The colors, the intricacies, I love it. Like, Ghana has some very, very beautiful and incredible clothing. If you all get a chance, check out the clothing. Ghana, Nigeria, just very incredible. Remember, this painting's from Nigeria. They just have some really, really incredible artwork and clothing. So, if you all want to know more about Malcolm X, there is information out there. His film was directed and produced by Spike Lee, and he is portrayed by Denzel Washington, who is a decorated and seasoned, while we're here for Black History Month, actor, Academy Award winning, wonderful, incredible film. You all can learn so much about his life. He also wrote a book, The Autobiography of Malcolm X, talks about his entire life, so you all can see about him going to prison. You can learn information about his father, who also was probably a revolutionary as well and was murdered by the Klan. And so just talking about his life, the things that he learned, he talks about colorism in terms of being lighter than some of his siblings. He talks about his marriage, his Nation of Islam quest. Like, you really want to read this book. So listen, I'm going to give y'all a homework assignment. If you don't like to read, watch Malcolm X the movie. If you don't like movies, read The Autobiography of Malcolm X. One of these should speak to you. They both spoke to me. So if you're enjoying this video, can y'all give me a like right now? Let everybody know how much we are enjoying and liking this video. And then we are going to head over to our next leader. Our next leader is going to be none other than Martin Luther King Jr., who I will refer to as MLK Jr. in this video. He was actually born Michael Luther King Jr. in Atlanta, Georgia. King was a minister, he was an activist, and he is one of the most prominent leaders of the civil rights movement. Malcolm X was also very prominent in the movement, but due to his controversial politics, a lot of times he's not celebrated as much as MLK Jr. MLK Jr. also has his own birthday that we celebrate, which is a holiday, January 15th, and we just got done celebrating, y'all, less than a month ago. So this is perfect. Within the history of Black people advocating for the rights in the United States, they thought it was a wonderful idea to follow up MLK's birthday with Black History Month. It was like perfect timing. And then March to celebrate women, right? And so we have those three very important months starting off the year, MLK, Black History Month, and then celebrating women's rights in March. So it's just a fantastic piece of history that we have there in culture. Back to Malcolm X. Not Malcolm X, back to Martin Luther King Jr. In 1934, his father changed both of their names from Michael to Martin. So he became Martin Luther King Jr. and his dad was Martin Luther King Sr. So MLK Jr. attended Boston University. He obtained a PhD in theology, and his dissertation talks about the comparisons of the conceptions of God. While he was in school, a friend of his introduced him to Coretta Scott. They would later marry and have 4 kids. So another fun fact, y'all know I love fun facts, is that I was in the same room with Martin Luther King III. And so I was able to see his son speak, I went to DC to see that very large and prominent statue of MLK Jr. And I also got to see his son speak. So I have been in the room with some really incredible people. They don't know me, y'all, but I was there. I told y'all in my first video, I was able to see Angela Davis when she came to the school I got my PhD from. And I also was able to meet Michelle Alexander, who wrote The New Jim Crow. So I'm just here giving y'all all these Black history facts, y'all. I hope y'all read one of these books or watch one of these movies, but I got y'all. So in terms of travel for Martin Luther King Jr., between 1965 and 1967, Martin traveled to Jamaica. He spoke at the University of the West Indies in Jamaica with a sermon that was titled Facing the Challenge of the New Age. He promoted messages of love and unity during that speech, and specifically the global brotherhood. MLK is quoted for stating, "In Jamaica, I feel like a human being." And he really enjoyed his moments being in the company of his diasporic brothers and sisters. So related to my travels, I have also been to Jamaica. And I want to let y'all know, I agree with MLK, y'all. Like, wow, the Jamaicans were just such a kind and just such a familial and communal culture. From the moment I came out from the plane, they're like, "Hey, sister." Everybody called me sister. They complimented my hair a lot. We had a really great time, just great conversations. And I was also able to go bobsledding in Jamaica. So I had a wonderful experience there. The final thing I want to tell you all about MLK Jr. was that he was also brutally assassinated in public at the age of 39 in 1968. Now we're going to move on to our next leader, which is Muhammad Ali. He was born Cassius Clay Jr. in Louisville, Kentucky. He was a professional boxer who gained the moniker the greatest heavyweight of all time. He will go on to join the Nation of Islam in 1960, similar to Malcolm X, and he changed his name from Cassius Clay Jr. to Muhammad Ali. Additionally, the government attempted to draft Muhammad Ali into the army. He said, no, I will not go. And he refused to go because of his religious beliefs as well as racial oppression. As a result, he was imprisoned. We know the government plays no games. And the Supreme Court overturned that decision in 1971, and he was not forced to report to war. However, he did lose 4 years of time where he could have been boxing, but he has become a symbol of racial pride for African Americans. Now, Muhammad Ali, he said, "Plane ain't nothing for me." He was traveling to what, y'all? The motherland a lot. So he was in Ghana and was very popular with the locals for championing for Black rights and liberation. He was highly celebrated. Ali spent time with Ghana's president, Kwame Nkrumah, in 1964. His reason for visiting was that he wanted to connect with his diasporic brothers and sisters similar to MLK Jr. Ali stated, this is a quote from him, "I am glad to tell our people that there are many things to be seen in Africa other than lions and elephants. They never tell us about the beautiful flowers, the magnificent hotels, the beautiful houses, beaches, great hospitals, schools, and universities," end quote. In 1964, Ali visited Cairo, Egypt. While he was there, he held up the Black Power fist in a photo. Y'all know the fist? And he also really had a connection to God during the time. He was able to see the pyramids as well as ride a camel. It was very important for Ali to visit the motherland and speak out against these injustices that Black people faced. So he would later return to Egypt in 1986, but sadly he passed away at the age of 74 in 2016. There's also a movie about Muhammad Ali's life that he watched. Fun fact, y'all, he watched this movie, and he is portrayed by Will Smith, who also is an Academy Award winner. And in this movie, you learn so much about his life. We learn about how he really is a revolutionary. So if you all want to learn more information about him, I will highly recommend you check out that movie as well. Our final leader for today is W.E.B. Du Bois. He was born William Edward Bernhardt Du Bois in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. He was the first African American to earn a PhD from Harvard University in 1895. His dissertation was titled Suppression of the African Slave Trade in the USA. You can find this online in the Library of Congress. W.E.B. Du Bois is known for being a socialist, for being a historian, and a writer. And he paved the way for me to get a PhD as well. Thank you, W.E.B. Du Bois. One of the seminal pieces from him is called The Souls of Black Folks, where he talks about double consciousness. He coined this term. He came up with this term. And what this is talking about is how Black Americans must grapple with seeing themselves from the lens of subjugation in the colonial world and seeing themselves within their own lens and their connection and value to their African heritage. Du Bois also traveled to Ghana, and he also saw President Kwame. Okay, President Kwame was out here having a great time with a lot of our leaders, but really seriously talking about identity and racial politics. So similar to Muhammad Ali, W.E. Du Bois spent time with Kwame, but he spent time with him in 1945. When he returned to Ghana later, he celebrated his birthday with President Kwame as well as the First Lady. He lived in Ghana for 2 years around 1963, but his health slowly started to decline, and unfortunately, he would die in the capital of Ghana in 1963. So I had the pleasure, as you know, of going to Ghana, and I was able to see Du Bois's tombstone. It is a part of a museum, and it has its own section off to the side. And when I was able to see this tombstone, I was able to see where his body was laid to rest. They had various wreaths that were up, and really a celebration of life for him. It was absolutely captivating, you all, to be able to see that. So if you can travel to Ghana and see that, you definitely want to go to the W.E.B. Du Bois Museum. It's an entire museum dedicated to his history, and you can walk through and learn all about that. Another thing about Du Bois is that he thought about denouncing his U.S. citizenship, but he did not in the end. He did have issues with the U.S. government. They confiscated his passport and did not allow him to travel to Africa. Obviously didn't want him to have these conversations about the racial injustices, and he finally got his passport back. Now, some have debated whether he was exiled from the U.S. or he determined not to return. But when he was laid to rest, W.E.B. Du Bois officially had Ghanaian and U.S. citizenship. So y'all, that concludes this wonderful conversation that we had about Black prolific leaders, where they travel or visited abroad. Again, if you like this video, give us a like right now. We are so close to 400 subscribers, y'all. We are almost there. Why not just get there and subscribe right now? So as you know, at the end of my videos, I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about in the comment section. So today, I want you to write down, if you learned one fact, what was the new thing that you learned about one of these leaders? In addition, if you did your homework assignment and read a book or watched a movie, tell us something you learned. Put that in the chat. Let's really have a conversation about how wonderful these leaders were in all of the things that they contribute to Black history and the rights that we enjoy today. So let me go ahead and tell you what my next video is about, y'all. I'm so excited about this video. Oh my goodness. It is going to be about Trinidad and Tobago when I went there for Carnival 1 year ago. So this is like the anniversary. So Carnival is a huge celebration that is happening in Trini in the Caribbean. It happens in a lot of nations in the Caribbean. So you should look that up. It's not only just in Brazil. It's like out in Trini too. They got something in Guadeloupe. They have something in St. Lucia, like so many places, Barbados, so many places are celebrating Carnival. So definitely check that out when you all get a chance. But I only went to Trinidad, so that's what we will be talking about. I went there with a Black travel group and with my bestie. Hey girl. And my bestie loves y'all. So she was like, you can post my picture and tell my name in your video. So if you want to learn who my bestie is, y'all, she in the next video, and I'm dedicating that video to her as well as Carnival. So this is going to be in March. Carnival this year is about March 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So I'm going to follow it up with this video while people are already going to Carnival and having a really great time, so you all can see our experiences in our travels. This is my last video for Black History Month. Y'all, please stay connected to the ancestors. Please remember our culture in this month. Even if you are not a Black person, please read about Black history. It is very important for us all to know, because what y'all need to know is that Black history is American history. Okay, so many things has happened in the United States due to the contributions of Black people, and we need not forget those. So I look so forward to seeing y'all in March. Have a wonderful Black History Month, however you decide to celebrate. Thank you again for tuning in, and always for us having this community. Please like, please comment, please subscribe, and I look so forward to seeing you all next time. Thank you for being here with me. Bye.